Dear reader, I'm Tony and this is Book Text. I brought to you today my May 2020 TBR list. But first, our word of the day. Today's word is doyenne. It's from the French. It is a noun meaning a woman who has the highest seniority in rank, skills, knowledge, or authority due to a long experience in her field. This is a woman who knows exactly what she is doing. What doyennes do you admire in your life? Please comment below about it. So I struggle a bit with TBRs because I'm kind of a mood reader, especially during the quarantine. One of my priorities is simply to keep reading, and that means that I can't be really ambitious by prescribing a lot of books and feeling guilty about not starting certain books. So this is going to be a brief TBR instead of an ambitious one. I have one read along and some selections from my favorite genres to read. I'm not experimenting with a lot of other genres right now because, again, I'm just trying to maintain my reading instead of stretching myself right now. So according to this amazing graph, which I will hopefully insert right here, brought to you by my super nerdy reading spreadsheet, I have certain genres that I read a lot in, specifically mysteries, classics, nonfiction, and graphic novels. I don't have access to a lot of graphic novels with my library closed, so I'm not going to set a TBR for graphic novels this month, but I will focus on the other three: mystery, nonfiction, and classics. And I have also read a lot of historical fiction, which usually crosses over into other genres, so they don't appear as often on my graph. It's one of the unfortunate drawbacks of having such an amazing graph. So first, I'm super excited about this one. I will be participating in the Odd Women Read Along, hosted by Marissa at Blatantly Bookish and Katie at Books and Things, and I will link their announcement videos in the description. The Odd Women is written by George Gissing. It is a Victorian novel about the women who are left behind when everyone else pairs up. The third wheel, if you will, and basically spinsters. So I'm quite interested in seeing how spinsters their experience has changed between then and now. My women's studies courses that I took a few years ago would suggest that things have changed in both good ways and bad ways, and that some things have stayed the same. So in particular, spinsters have a lot more, women in general have a lot more options available to them, but that they're still falling behind in career plans compared to men because of their roles that they still have, especially things like care work that women are usually assigned to do or take upon themselves more than men do. So I have a lot of thoughts about this topic, and I will hopefully share those with you after I have read the book. The first line, I'm hoping to share the first lines of all the books on my TBRs because it gives you a little bit of taste for the writing style and the subject, feel, the tone of the book. And there's a lot of effort that goes into first lines, especially nowadays. Writing classes talk a lot about first sentences. So the first line of The Odd Women by George Gissing is, "So tomorrow, Alice," said Dr. Madden as he walked with his eldest daughter on the coast downs by Clevedon, "I shall take steps for insuring my life for £1,000. We already have an idea of a relationship there. We have a setting, coast towns, oh, how pretty, and ensuring, so there's money involved, right? A father and a daughter talking about funds, which usually, in my experience, I didn't start talking to my father about money until I realized that I was going to be a spinster for a while and I had to start my career plans. So I'm seeing a lot of connection there already. Very excited to join in the Odd Read Along. My mystery selection is The Brutal Telling by Louise Penny. This is the 5th book in Louise Penny's Three Pines series, featuring the quietly charming Armand Gamache as the detective. These books suck me in. It's a nice, cozy, but also literary mystery series. I enjoy the characters, I enjoy the setting. It's a pretty good escape for me, and I need an escape right now. The first line of the brutal telling is, all of them, even the children. The fireplace sputtered and crackled and swallowed his gasp. Slaughtered? Some darkness there in the very first line. These books are quite dark. Similarly, this is mystery-esque, but also historical fiction. I recently purchased Miss Kopp's Midnight Confessions by Amy Stewart. This is the 3rd book in the Kopp Sisters series, and if you have not discovered these books yet, get yourself a copy of the first book, Girl Waits with Gun. These are based on a true story about Constance Kopp and her sisters who are running a farm in New Jersey in the early 20th century. I believe these particular books are set during World War I, but they are on, of course, a different front, more of a home front. And through some exciting adventures, Constance starts working for the local sheriff. So there are a lot of really interesting women's issues brought up that are interwoven with her exciting adventures. Highly recommend The Girl Waits with Gun. This is the first book. I'm going to continue reading with the 3rd book, Miss Kopp's Midnight Confessions. First line of Miss Kopp's Midnight Confession is, on the morning of her arrest, Edna Eustace awoke early and put her room in order. I love the contrast between the kind of disarray suggested by arrest and the order that she is putting her room into. Really interesting books. My classic selection is from my Short Classics TBR, and I will link to that video down below in the description. This is The Napoleon of Notting Hill by G.K. Chesterton. This book was published in 1904, and it appears to be a satire of British politics and kingship. And interestingly, as I've been looking more into this book, it is set in 1984 and predicts a future that is quite dull and unchanged from the 1904 in which he's writing it. And I think he's teasing his good friend H.G. Wells, who of course predicted really wild and violent and exciting futures. So it would be interesting to kind of read this in that context, knowing that it's totally tongue-in-cheek. That there's quite a bit of bantering between this author and H.G. Wells, whom I also enjoy reading. And I read the first line of this book in my Short Classics TBR video. So if you want a taste of The Napoleon of Notting Hill by G.K. Chesterton, check out that video below. I will, of course, be continuing to read many books. My nonfiction book that I will continue to read is Bird by Bird by Lamott. This is a classic book about writing, and I am doing a lot of my own writing over the summer, both academic and for fun, and I also teach writing, so it's part of my professional development over the spring and summer. So I'm going to continue that and several other books that I started reading in April. I will also probably download several audiobooks during the month of May, but I can't predict those because I'm getting them off of Overdrive and their availability is less predictable than the physical books that I know that I have on my shelf. So I'm excited to crack down on those books. What are you reading in May? Are you also going to be participating in the Odd Women read-along? Please let me know in the comments. And remember, there's always another book.